In this video, we'll be going over the harsh truth about resumes. I've reviewed over 500 resumes, I've gotten into Amazon and Google, and I know the difference between a resume that gets rejected and one that gets the offer. And I'll warn you right now, most people think they know all these strategies, but they miss the hidden nuance that makes all the difference. Let's start with strategy number 1 of 3, which is to limit your resume to just 1 page. I know this sounds obvious, but there's a deeper reason this matters, and it ties into something called Parkinson's Law. I'll explain what that is in a moment, but first, let me tell you the mistake I see over and over. I've reviewed countless resumes, and many of them stretch to 2 pages, some of them even 3. My friend, this is a horrible mistake. And it's not because recruiters are bad people, or are they? It's because of something called time perception. And once you understand it, you'll look at your resume completely differently. Look, I get why people do it. You want to showcase every single detail about your experiences and projects so that you can maximize your chance of getting an interview, and in the process, the resume just ends up stretching past 1 page. But the sad truth is that recruiters don't spend more than 5 seconds looking at a resume. And that, my friend, is where Parkinson's Law comes in. It says this: if you give yourself just 1 page, you'll be forced to cut the fluff and only highlight your most valuable projects and experiences. That's what actually makes your resume stronger. But if you give yourself 2 or 3 pages, well, you end up filling it with fluff, weakening the whole thing. And here's the $100,000 question. If recruiters only spend 5 seconds scanning, what do you want them to see first? Now, here's where it gets interesting. Even if you get the 1-page rule right, most people miss another tactic completely called keyword density. So let me ask you this, are you making the most of that 1 page you do have? Because your goal isn't just to list experience, it's to load that page with technical buzzwords, skills, frameworks, anything and everything that could trigger the resume screening software. I know this kind of feels like BS sometimes, but it's a game we have to play. It honestly pisses me off that recruiters have that much power over hardworking people like you and me. Think about it. Recruiters are non-technical, but they decide whether technical people like you and me can get an interview. It makes zero sense, but that's a rant for another time. This brings us to strategy number 2. Let me show you why this kills 90% of the resumes I review. It's called the metrics multiplier. You may have heard of this strategy before, so be honest with yourself. Are you actually implementing it on your resume? Let me give you a quick test. Look at this bullet points. Trained a CNN-based image classification model in Python. Looks fine, right? But here's the truth. That one bullet point has 0 persuasive power because non-technical recruiters don't know what the hell that means. And worse, they can't measure its impact. This is where the metrics multiplier framework comes in. Instead of vague statements, rewrite everything with hard numbers. Trained a CNN in PyTorch on a 50,000 image dataset, achieving 92% accuracy and a 15% improvement over baseline. Or reduce training time by 30% through data augmentation and learning rate scheduling. Do you see the difference? The same project sounds 10 times more impactful when you quantify it with metrics. And here's the crazy part. When I've tested this, the ones with more keywords don't just get you more interviews. They also change how interviewers talk to you. They approach you with so much more respect. I'll explain why in a second. But before we get there, let's talk about strategy number 3, which honestly trumps everything else. I call it projects as proof. This strategy is the most important of them all, and it's what this entire channel and community is about. Because if strategy number 1 was about presentation, strategy number 2 was about persuasion, then strategy number 3 is all about proof. If you don't have any projects on your resume, or if you do have some projects but they're not that impressive, then my friend, you are drastically hurting your chances of getting an interview. Now, you can't just build any project. You have to focus on 2 very specific projects, which I'll reveal very shortly. But first, you need to understand why projects dominate everything else. First, projects are what got me into Amazon and Google. At Google, the recruiter actually reached out to me because of my projects. I didn't even apply. I've also had interviews at top AI startups where they skipped LeetCode entirely and just grilled me on my projects. And thousands of my students have landed offers the same way by doubling down on projects.
Okay, Dev, I get it. I need to build projects, but which ones do I build?
I'm glad you asked, because that's what this channel is about. We're a community of builders, and we focus on 2 very specific projects. The first one is what I call the paper to prototype method. Most of the progress in AI over the last 5 to 10 years has actually come from research. Researchers at Google, Facebook, OpenAI, they actually publish papers whenever they invent a new model. So one of the best projects you can build is reading a research paper and then trying to code up the concepts. Let me give you an example. There's a paper from 2017 written by Google called Attention is All You Need. And this paper invented the model that powers every modern day LLM like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. I mean, this paper changed the world. So if you can read the paper, understand it, then code up the concepts in Python, I mean, you're ahead of 99% of people. Project number 2 is very different. It's much more practical. It's fine-tuning an LLM for a custom niche use case. You'll start with an existing pre-trained LLM like GPT or the Llama model from Meta, and you'll pick a small specific data set like healthcare, math problems, legal, whatever is interesting to you, and you'll train the model further on that specific data set. You end up with a custom model that's an expert on a very specific domain, which is something that every single company wants. When I discussed these two projects in my technical and behavioral interviews, the interviewers were always impressed. These two projects are the reason that I was able to land multiple high-paying offers. Now, at this point, you might be wondering something. Once you fix your resume and start getting more interviews, how do you ace it and secure the offer? Because if LeetCode isn't the best way to prepare, then what is? I answered that question for you in this video right here. It's the realest and most raw video on the entire channel. It's completely unscripted and I don't hold anything back. I even exposed one company for one of the most unfair interviews I've ever seen. Click that video next and I'll see you there.